Welcome to Cake on Tuesday, where we spotlight the rule breakers, the underdogs who refuse to listen when everyone said it won't work. I'm Elizabeth Bieniek, and for the next 20 minutes, we're diving into another disruptive innovation story that proves sometimes the craziest ideas change everything. Today's guest is Priscilla Zhang, co-founder of Assistivity, an advocate for disability inclusion and assistive technology. A recent summa cum laude graduate from Villanova University, her academic experience came to a sudden stop when chronic bilateral wrist pain kept her from taking notes and submitting assignments. While speech-to-text solutions existed, no tools existed to capture complex equations. So in true innovator form, Priscilla built one. Priscilla co-founded Assistivity and co-designed Phoenix, a voice-to-equation editor that helps students solve math and physics equations more efficiently when using your hands is not an option. Now a prospective Doctor of Optometry candidate, Priscilla's own journey, as well as her background in leadership, patient care, and teaching, drive her ongoing passion for creating accessible, real-world technology solutions. Priscilla, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here. Are you ready for this?
Yes, yeah, it's truly an honor. Thank you, Elizabeth.
This is amazing. So I got to meet Priscilla recently at Villanova. I had the privilege of judging some of the student pitches, and I was so wildly impressed with Priscilla's story and journey and innovator story that I wanted to bring her on this podcast. So Priscilla, I'm hoping you tell us a little bit about the background of what went into assistivity. But first of all, can you start off just tell us what sets your soul on fire about what you're doing right now in your innovation journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So what really fires me up about this is that it really developed out of my own personal struggle, because I used to struggle with chronic wrist pain and I couldn't write or type. And so, voice to text existed for English and biology if I wanted to dictate notes or papers. But for classes like physics or calculus, there is no voice to equation that accommodates that high level, university level equations. So I had to withdraw from 3 classes because of that. And so out of this own personal story, we built Assistivity, the company behind our first tool, Phoenix, which is a voice to equation platform that is able to be kind of like a whiteboard that allows students to have original work, to work through their thinking instead of existing solutions like AI chatbots, which tell you what to do or they talk back to you. But what sets Phoenix apart is that it's purely just a whiteboard for you to learn the material or to work through your own thinking. So what sets my heart on fire is how I'm able to transform a personal struggle into a solution that is able to benefit people who are struggling with similar issues, but also with people who might not even struggle with fine motor disabilities. Because we actually recently conducted a 22 participant study. It's a time to task model of basically timing participants write the quadratic formula by hand versus type it on Microsoft Word versus using Phoenix to speak it. And then our study results, we recently compiled all the data and did some analysis. We found that compared to Microsoft Word, Phoenix is 76% faster. And compared to handwriting, Phoenix is 46% faster. So These are some great data that we were able to extract. On top of, we also do
amazing.
Thank you. We also do have a peer-reviewed paper we published last year that we were able to present.
That's so cool. Okay. So there's so many questions I want to ask you on this,
Sure.
but I have to start with just the innovation journey itself and where this began, because I get to interview so many amazing disruptive founders on the show. And a lot of the times they're on their 3rd, 4th, 5th career. And I love that you built something awesome before you even graduated, which is so cool. But you also are coming from, I think, the best point of innovation, necessity breeds invention, of you needed something and it didn't exist, so you made it. At what point, though, in this journey did it go from, hey, I'm just hacking something together that works for me versus this is a business, this can help other people?
Yeah, I think that point really came to life when we started writing that peer-reviewed paper, because what went into that paper was conducting many literature reviews, looking at what is really existing out there, the existing tools that are out there, the existing competitors, the audience, like other people that are like me. So we were able to get some statistics and get some data on how many people really do struggle with this and how big of an issue it truly is. And
Yeah.
so through that, that made me realize, wow, there is truly an audience for this. And our tool really is something that has not been created yet. And it addresses those specific pain points. And I think also back to your first question, I think since our team is, we have people who are very experienced in coding assistive technology, but also with my personal experience, our since we have these different mixed abilities, we're able to address things from a point that is able to directly help the users, because I was quote unquote a user because it's
Right.
who are basically in my shoes.
Yeah. Oh, and again, that's the best technology. I mean, I come from a background in technology. I always find when we're building technology for technology's sake, like, oh, this is cool. We can do this. That's usually not the greatest adopted technology. It's not really solving world's problems. It's you're hunting for a problem. And I love this that you had a problem and you use technology to solve it. I think that is the best use case for technology. I'm also curious, how did you do this while also managing to graduate with top honors at school and do all these things at once? Like, what did the juggle look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of prioritizing which is most important for the day, but also things in terms of deep work, light work, and like bite work. When I say bite work, I mean like little bits of things that you can do in between things. Like if I'm waiting for a meeting and I happen to have a few minutes, I could do some of my bite work, which is maybe like replying back to some emails or replying to messages or scheduling some things, putting some things in my calendar, versus my deep work would be like morning time. So I think it's really a matter of understanding how the individual or how I personally function in terms of when does my brain work best at what task, and then basically structuring my day based on that.
Hmm. Okay, it
Mm.
took me a couple decades into my career to figure that out for myself. How did you figure that out so young? Did you
Yeah,
have good mentors, or is time management naturally something you do good?
I think it's just because I have such a variety of passions. Because actually, this began really when I was in middle school and I was doing Science Olympiad. I was doing high school, of course, but then the Science Olympiad is it's like a science competition that has multiple events. So I was doing optics and then tower building and then anatomy and physiology. And so it was purely out of passion, I guess, and just figuring out because I like Tetris. So this is like Tetris in real life, like figuring out where the blocks of time go where. Um, yeah. And I think just figuring out what works and what doesn't, and like every day doing a nightly reflection of, okay, what worked today? What could be better tomorrow?
Hmm.
What made things efficient? What slowed down my efficiency? What made me feel more alive? What made me drained more? And then just like taking that day by day, and then just being that like 1% better per day really helps.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you get the compounding effect. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what does the future of assistivity look like now that you're gonna pursue your doctorate? I mean, you're gonna be busy. Are you planning on running a business while pursuing school and continuing that? What's that future look like?
Yeah. So currently, we are in discussions for pilots for a few universities, and also we are in contact with a senior representative at McGraw-Hill. So we're hoping to incorporate with maybe as an extension onto McGraw-Hill, and also continuing with those pilots. And so
Mhm.
based on what we've already had discussed, it's really just carrying that forward and then going from there, because this is my first startup, and it's really just, as I said, just kind of taking it day by day, seeing what works every day. Yeah, because none of us know what the future holds, but it's really just doing the best that we can each day.
Hmm. And so you started this focusing on the academic world and looking at students and helping them, but there's obviously implications that this could be very useful for assistive technology in the workplace. There's a lot of people that are now stepping into very complex roles that may not have full functioning ability of both their hands to continuously be typing. Have you started exploring that? Is that just down the road, or where does that stand?
Yes. So we've identified that there truly is a need also for closed captioning for science conferences or
Hmm.
in Zoom meetings with uh, maybe researchers or in labs where people are working with their hands and they might not be able to write something down, such as in chemistry
Mm.
lab. And so going forward, beyond just being a voice to equation workspace, because we have the code that can transcribe equations at that high level. For example, you could just say quadratic formula and then it'll be able to transcribe that. You don't have to say x is equal to negative b plus or minus whatever. And then there's also things in physics like Gauss's law, like it'll just be able to transcribe that equation right away. So for
Mm.
people who are working either in the lab or when they're having a Zoom conversation, for the people who might be hard of hearing, who might not be able to, it might cause them more frustration if things aren't properly transcribed, as currently that is the case. Yeah, we can address that.
Mm. That's a cool case. I didn't even really think about that, but just thinking now, closed captions are on everything because there's so many times we're watching things on the go. I'm thinking even just learnings and trainings of watching a video or recapping a meeting. I mean, closed captions can't even get my name right. I can imagine equations are really complex. That's a
Yes.
very cool use case of it too. Awesome. Okay, I have to ask a question about I know you didn't set out in your current degree to also build a company and be a founder before you graduated. What has surprised you most about that journey?
Hmm. I think just the breadth of what is out there, because I'm naturally
Mm,
a very curious person, but with assistivity and being a founder, it really opened up a lot of doors to places, conversations, people that I could have never expected, but really excites me because I really love hearing about new perspectives and learning about new things. So, from the Villanova Student Entrepreneurship Competition, through which I was honored to have met you, Elizabeth. I also met Travis. I think he's currently a finance student at Villanova, and then he also works in the Entrepreneurship Society, I believe. But he recommended that I attend Philly Tech Week. And so that week happened to be during finals week, but still, I was like, I have to go because there was a NASDAQ Opportunity
yeah.
Exchange event. And it was the
Yeah.
CEO of NASDAQ, the CEO of entrepreneurship at NASDAQ who was speaking there. So I was like, I don't care that I have finals, I'm going to go. Although back to what we mentioned earlier about prioritizing things, putting certain amounts of time into what is like the cost benefit analysis and return on investment, just analyzing all those things. And then from there, moving forward. Yeah, I attended that and I was able to have a conversation with Nicola, the CEO of entrepreneurship at NASDAQ. I was also able to meet many other people, for example, the CEO of NASDAQ entrepreneurship at the New York campus, but also some other founders, some other innovators. I was really eye-opening and I was really humbled to be able to have a conversation with her, and also to have met you also, Elizabeth, since it's truly so mind-boggling that you co-founded WebEx Hologram. I still find that really incredible because that's something that I see in Avengers and sci-fi movies, but you really to life. So I'm really grateful that through my founder journey, that I was able to meet such incredible, inspiring people like you.
That's so cool. It's really fun building things that don't exist yet because you're dealing with a different set of problems. You're always dealing with the is this possible at the same time as how do we do this? And I think it's fun, but it can be frustrating at the same time. So I have a question about how you celebrate your progress along the way because you're doing really hard things. All founders and innovators are doing really hard things. And my podcast is called Cake on Tuesday. It's all about celebration. I think that's sometimes the forgotten piece of moving things forward. How do you personally, or how do you with your company, how do you celebrate the milestones as you're still building?
Mm. Yeah, I definitely think that celebration is a very key and important part because then it basically gives you the fun that is important in life. And so I'm a huge advocate for self-care and like journaling or taking like a nice hot bath and or going for walks in nature and just really like mindfulness activities. I really value
Yeah.
mindfulness, like deep breathing and just paying attention, bringing your awareness to the way that the sun shines through the leaves or like the birds chirping. It doesn't have to be that complicated or that expensive to just, you know,
Yeah.
um, just to take that intentional time to kind of be like, wow, I'm really grateful that I was able to make these progress points, but also, gratefulness and giving thanks is a really important to me. But one other way that I like to celebrate is ice cream. I adore ice cream. I have not met an ice cream that I don't like, but
All
it's just
right.
magical to me because ice cream, it's like it's it's tangible, it's a solid, but it can turn it into a liquid. But it's sweet, but not overwhelmingly sweet. It's not like nauseating. But yeah, that's just my little tidbit about ice cream. I love ice cream. So ice cream is always a great way to celebrate.
And it goes really good with cake. So there's really no way to be wrong with ice cream. My kids would 100% agree with that too. I like your comment
Yes,
about
indeed.
focusing on the little things. And I think especially in technology, especially when the pace is so fast, that slowing down and focusing on the small things is so important. I just got back from a camping trip with my family, and that was such a nice way to unplug. But it made me think too, packing the back of the truck was really resonates with your Tetris example of time management. And I love that visual because for me, it's the same thing. Like, how do you fit these little blocks in there, whether you're packing a truck or packing your schedule, thinking through how do these little pieces create the whole? Do you find that same sort of mindset translates to your business, that when you're building, you're kind of looking at what are the immediate short-term things that I'm doing, but then also looking at the big picture and where the future of assistivity is going and where you want to take it? Do you go back and forth between the big and the small?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So as for that, I think it's maybe weekly or every 2 weeks to be able to look at where we are in terms of how much progress we're making and what is our long-term goals and how are we meeting those long-term goals, but also taking the little steps day by day to do that, which is quote unquote the smaller blocks. So I think what is also important is to have our conversations as a team to look at how are we aligning with what we all believe should be our long-term goals and how are we meeting that. But also very important is how are we doing with our health, with how we're balancing our other commitments. I really found in founding Assistivity, but also in my roles as I was the previous president of the Pre-Optometry Club at Villanova and the membership chair of Food Recovery Network at Villanova. So through those experiences, I was also able to really experience what it's like to work on a team, which actually also helped me be able to help build Assistivity in a way that is able to foster a strong team, but also to care for how we're doing outside of that. So I think it's important to be honest, but also to be vulnerable with one another, where we really are and how we can best address things in a way that is healthy for us as individuals, for us as a team, and for us as a company.
Yeah, that's so important for building sustainable business practices too. I mean, you can't build something for the long term without that. So, as we look forward, question for you about just technology and how much things are changing so rapidly right now with the pervasiveness of AI and everything else that's going on. What are you most excited about on the technology innovation front that would feed into the future of assistivity?
Yes. So for technology, I think one thing that we cannot avoid is AI because everyone is talking about it. Everyone's using it. But I think it's really incredible how fast it's moving forward and the things it's able to accomplish. So I think, yeah, it's hard figuring out how to harness that in a way that benefits us as people, but also is attentive to the effect on the environment. Because I think it's so easy to be like, wow, there's such amazing benefits to we can search up these things and then get all these comprehensive views on it and basically just there's really such a wide variety of things you could do right now with AI. But I think considering ways that we can still be independent thinkers and use AI as a tool rather than using AI as kind of your default, because I think that's something that I'm realizing is sometimes we then be like, okay, I'm just going to search it up on this AI platform just because it's easier. But sometimes it's like, well, how can we first do the thinking and then use AI to leverage that even further? Because then it becomes we are working and then AI is helping us be better people rather than we are completely letting AI just do all the work for us type thing.
And that perfectly complements your business model too, of using it as an assistive technology that you can then help people be better at what they do. So Priscilla, if people want to learn more about
Yes.
assistivity, if they want to use Phoenix, if they want to follow your amazing journey, how do they find you? How do they find more about your technology that you're building?
Mhm. Yeah, so I'd love to connect on LinkedIn or to have a conversation about your ideas and your journey, because I'm always open to hear about other people's journeys, because that is helpful to help us actually create even better solutions or to improve on our existing solutions. And you can also access our website, assistivity.org. If you scroll down, you'll also be able to see a little bit about our paper and some frequently asked questions.
Awesome. Priscilla, it was so great to have you here. I'm wildly inspired by your journey. I'm super excited to see what you do next, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's truly an honor.
Thanks for joining another Cake on Tuesday celebration of beautiful disruption. Please share it, review it, and find more innovative stories at podcast.cakeontuesday.com. I'm Elizabeth Bieniek. Be bold, stay curious. Now go have some cake.